introduction. So in this session, you've been listening to all these wonderful speakers for the last 1.5 days, and a lot of ideas have been brought forth, a lot of issues have been raised. What we'll try to do in this session is to sort of gather all the inputs that we can from folks who have not had an opportunity to express their thoughts. Also, to hear from the panelists here, their summary of what they felt we discussed over the last 1.5 days and what the critical issues were. So we will hear a little bit from them, and then we'll open it up for discussion, and we'll try to capture all the thoughts that folks have, and then we'll try to summarize it into an action plan and present that tomorrow. So this is what we want to do. So we have 3 panelists here, and you've seen them, except for Konrad Els, who joined us today, I think, or earlier, yesterday. Everybody probably knows him. He's a very distinguished author and an expert on Hindu history. So we'll have the panelists present their views for 5 minutes each. Then we'll open up for a discussion. So when we open it up for a discussion, Mamta over here, she has some sheets that she can pass around to people who want to express their thoughts. So we would really request you to write down your thoughts on that piece of paper so it becomes short and succinct, and that will really help us. And then you can say it. After that, we'll give you a little bit of summary of what we've captured so far in these sessions. And the thoughts that we bring up in this session itself, we will try to capture that tonight, and we'll summarize it tomorrow. So sounds like a plan? So with that, I would like the panel over here to start, and we can start with Ram Vaidyaji.
Namaste. I won't take more than 3 minutes. We discussed many things, we observed many things about the Sanghe Shakti Kali Yuge and going forward. I feel one which probably are not common to understand. Normally we think of identifying the commonalities of between the organizations, associations and sects. And that's why, what is the common between you and me? Your path, my path, your organization, my organization, your sect, my sect, language also. And that's why we are just playing the tennis match between these 2 organizations in the community as well. And therefore, to going forward, I think we need to identify the differentiations, the differences, the diversity. If you start identifying diversity and appreciating diversity, then only can we be together. And therefore, identifying diversity is more important than the identifying the commonalities. Because the soul of all organizations and Hindu society is one, and therefore we need not discuss about that one. We need to discuss about what sort of things are different than others, and then common things will come automatically. Second point is the term Hindu, which is not a nature of our Hindu dharma to use the Hindu as a word. And therefore, within the Hindu society, we always think of, do not say about Hindu, just say Sanatan Dharma, Arya, Vedic, and various ways. In one of the Belgium trip, I heard that Indic religions as well. But as we identify ourselves as a Hindu, for a need of an urgency, we need to understand that how can we use this Hindu word in our entire explanation. If I am a Swaminarayan, can I say Swaminarayan Hindu, Jain Hindu, Vedic Hindu, Arya Hindu? If these type of terminologies will become popular for a need of as a time, hour, then at least for 20, 30 years, the problem of not being identified as a Hindu won't occur. And therefore, the need going forward, basically, I think the term as a Hindu, everybody should use. Like today we discussed about that, we need not enter into the discussions on theology, the ideas, the beliefs, the practices, not even the rituals and non-rituals as well. And therefore, we need to identify certain areas we want to work. And therefore, as a unity going forward, as a togetherness, where we stand, I feel 3 points only. On these 3 points, if all the organizations work together at least for 10 years, 1, education. Education also covers the samskar also. Second, advocacy, human rights, defamation, the pride for Hindus, symbolism, all the temples, organizations, the rights, all those things will come into the advocacy concept. And therefore, as a part of advocacy, all organizations to come together. And third thing, seva. The seva for unity, seva for humanity. Nara seva, Narayan seva. On this point, all those organizations can come together. We can add on all our differences. But on these 3 points, if you come together, then we can move forward. And therefore, I repeat, the first thing is identify not commonalities, because we are one. Identify what are the differences, what are the diversity. Second, use the term Hindu and concentrate on education, advocacy, and seva. If as a Hindu forum, organization forum, as a HOTA, if you can concentrate on these 3 points, then I think probably concrete plan will come forward. Namaste.
Thank you, Ramji. May I request Dattatreyaji? Please come.
Namaste. As Abhay Asthanaji told, this session is for the house to put forth their ideas and their views for this, that is going forward, way ahead, and how we can create mechanisms and how we can have such an attitude to work together. That doesn't mean that we will do away with our other identities and other activities which have been already conducting, organizing, pursuing. We all are working in various fields for the promotion, strengthening, positioning, and defending Hindu Dharma and society. In our own way, all of us have been doing. That's why we have come here to participate in this Congress. The idea is not to dissolve our identity, but the idea is to have the unity in this diversity. The idea is to promote the oneness and a collective, unified voice of Hindus all over the world. So that's why I think we should carry the ideas that have been projected and pushed forth here, not starting one more organization or forum to do all these things. Then it is multiplicity of more organizations. Okay, now we have to do this thing, some media thing is there, some education, some economics. So one more organization, one more forum. So this is not going to solve the problem. The idea is that we should, that's what I feel, it's my personal opinion, that we are already active. There can we imbibe and inculcate these things in our organizations, in our movements, wherever we are active. How my organization can come forward to work with others, the collaborative effort, the coordination. So how I can convince, persuade my colleagues in my organization so that we work together. So what are the activities? What are the means? What are the dimensions where we can work together? So these are the things that we'll have to think of. That is what I feel. Thing is, one is we do not know, as Swami Mitrananji in this morning session he said, that others are also doing a wonderful activity he compared his own organization, Chinmaya Mission, with Ramakrishna Mission about the schools they are conducting. He said, how many schools Ramakrishna Mission is conducting? Vivekananda Kendra. That example he gave, we have heard. Many a time, lack of information. So that's why we will have to reach out to other Hindu bodies, organizations. That is one thing we will have to do it as part of our work. That is also this networking, this collaborative thing, effort. We can decide some days in US, there is a Hindu Sangathan Divas, etc. we have been conducting. There is all Hindu organizations, forms, associations, they come together. Or already the temple executives, etc., US and New Zealand, they have tried and been successful. So like this, we will have to come together. The second thing is, I'm sorry, sometimes we have this organization ego. And that becomes the stumbling block. That is another impediment in coming together. So we will have to shed this ego. I remember one incident in 1897. Swami Vivekananda, when he returned to Bharat after his successful Western tour, he was in Lahore. And Swamiji was requested by 3 different persons to address. One was an Arya Samaji, another was a Sanatan, and the third one was a Sikh. And Swamiji said, you all 3 come together, then I will. In 1897, Lahore, his speech, and all 3, they came together and they were all on the same platform, and Swamiji addressed the people. I think that is what Swamiji has given 100 years ago. These are the message that we all should come together. We can have our own things, but on some occasions you come together, have common platform. That is the message that we have to have. There are other things which Ramaji has already mentioned. The intellectual challenges and academics. This area we have to, I think, there are a lot of things to be done here. Though there is a lot of awareness among Hindu society about Hindu culture, heritage, civilizational values and all, still to present them in an acceptable way, in an academic fashion, these things we have to pick up, we have to develop it. So that's why in academics, how we can put forth the very positive arguments in favor of Hindu, dharma, culture, society, etc. These things we have to develop. Lot of research, lot of terminologies, lot of arguments, lot of articulation is required in this particular area. And also the intellectual challenges, of course, Balu has mentioned certain things in the morning. Conrad else may be having some more things to say. That's why I leave it to him how we can address this particular area of intellectual challenges, because that is the area where our youngsters also sometimes get confused. That's why we will have to see that these things are very effectively addressed. There are other areas where we will have to have the networking. That is love jihad, religious conversion. These are some of the areas where lot of collaborative and coordinated effort is required. Some policy issues also may have to be taken up. So these issues should be addressed. So for these, temporary mechanism, 1, then issue-based coordination, 2, then there is some common platform to address to these issues, 3. These are some of the areas that we will have to think of and have some operational methods for these things. That is what I think. Namaste.
Dattatreyaji, thank you so much for those thoughts. I request Konarels to share his thoughts on this.
Yes, an important Hindu concept is the Triguna, the 3 qualities, one of which is tamas, which is darkness, heaviness, inertia. Now, this is the time to get out of tamas. Because the Hindus have so far shown a lot of, the typical tamasic quality of defeatism. And this shows itself in, 2 important qualities, namely passivity and despair. You see, Hindus used to not believe that they could do anything. And in a sense, this was also true. Both the government and the media were hostile, and anything the Hindus did, did not have much effect because it was countered by powerful forces. In the past, very often, I've had the impression, personally, that anything I did or wrote was useless. For example, I have painstakingly written a demonstration that the usual accusation that Guru Golwalkar was a Nazi advocating the genocide of the minorities, this is not true at all. There is one line from his book, We, that is always lifted out of its context and given that interpretation. Now, I have shown at great length, that if you read the book as a whole, this interpretation cannot stand at all. It is malicious and it is just untrue. Now, after having done that, all I saw from Hindu circles, including the Sangh Parivar, which was directly a beneficiary of what I had written, did not react at all. Any outsider or even any Indian who reads an introduction to the phenomenon of Hindu nationalism will learn two things. Namely, that one of them killed Mahatma Gandhi and that Guru Golwalkar was a Nazi. You read any introduction. I just saw an article in the British magazine The Spectator, which precisely had these two things as introductory material to what is Hindu nationalism. Now, I dare say I have taken the trouble of countering these things. And, Hindu nationalist organizations had very much, a collective interest in publicizing this refutation. Instead, you see nothing of the sort happened. You see, that is the kind of passivity I mean, the kind of tamasic attitude, that used to characterize Hindu activism, in spite of its name, activism. Now, you see, these days, and especially at this conference, I have a far more positive impression. Sometime soon, in 2 months' time, there will be in Mysore a conference of the elders of all religions. This is a very important thing for Hindus to do, to bring together all the religions that are being besieged by Christianity and Islam. It's the Mayas, the Maoris, the Yorubas, and so on. They're all coming together. And this is the initiative of an RSS Pracharak. I used to be rather skeptical about what the RSS is inspired to do. Well, in this case, at any rate, something very important and very fundamental is being done by Dr. Yashwant Pathak, an RSS Pracharak. This conference also very well organized. I hear, papers of very high quality, and so I'm quite excited to be here. Something I heard this morning was a report on the new media, the social media, Twitter and so on. And, people who are working on that front, they are testifying that, they have really changed the communications field. There used to be a complete dominance of the mainstream media, which were totally in the pocket of the secularists. Now you see, thanks to social media, suddenly there is equality. And, people who write blogs and so on, they can challenge established journalists, Barkha Dutt and so on, and force them to reply or to correct their reporting. So suddenly, Hindus are being empowered. So one thing is more activism, and this yields fruit, like in the field of social media. Secondly, it is optimism. You should believe that you can achieve something by doing something. And in this regard also there is a very important progress to report. Like, for example, at this media session this morning, I heard someone advocating the old viewpoint. And when I heard it, I realized how untypical it has become. It was a typically conspiracy-minded Hindu who thought that, the whole world is against Hindus and Western media are in a big conspiracy, to denounce Hinduism and so on. That is not true. And I mean, I've worked in Western media for decades. I know the place inside out. Most Western journalists, including correspondents in Delhi, have no clue and have no particular interest in India. They have certainly no particular bias. And if the information fed to them was different, they would tell a different story. Unfortunately for them, all they get as information is what comes through the bottleneck in Delhi, which is controlled by the secularists. So fortunately, now you have the new media giving them a different story. Like the fact that Narendra Modi was denied a visa in the United States was not the doing of the American government or Congress or something. It was the doing of Indian secularists and their allies among Indo-Americans in the American universities. And they pressured the politicians, feeding them extremely negative information about Narendra Modi. And so there was no American conspiracy against Modi. There were just stupid Americans believing everything they were told. And so they acted upon the dictates of the Indian secularists. So now, fortunately, partly thanks to new media, partly just because Hindus are waking up and are becoming more active, you see this whole picture is changing. Finally, I want to remark that, even though right now this is a very upbeat occasion, strengthened and made possible to a large extent by the fact that the political equation has changed with the Narendra Modi government, I want to emphasize that this window of opportunity is not going to last forever. You see, the time to act is now. If you don't do it now, if you wait, if you take your time, if you say that all this is bound to happen, well, you might miss your opportunity. And in this regard, I have something practical to say. What I notice among the decisions and nominations, especially of people to important posts made by the present government, is that they are rewarding the opportunists, jumping on the BJP bandwagon, and they are forgetting about the people who really can do something for Hinduism. The excuse that many pro-BJP people give is that, but now the economy is in such trouble. This government inherited a bad economy from its secularist predecessors. We now have to concentrate on this, not rock the boat, and then later you will see that the BJP will start doing something about the Hindu agenda. Well, I don't believe that. Many people that I know in this government, have no ideological commitment, are just happy to, enjoy the sunshine while it lasts. And, they are time servers. And, by contrast, you have a lot of, involved people. I mean, they are right here. And so, those people are insufficiently put in positions, where they really can change things. Because, the BJP now has office. But what it doesn't have, or doesn't show at any rate so far, is power. The power to change things. And so, very urgently, the right people should be put in the right positions, to change things. Like, for instance, the textbooks, have been reformed in 2002, 2004. That was a bit of a disaster. And immediately when the Congress came back to power, they had no problem at all in just dumping those textbooks and bringing in the old ones, or a new version of the old ones. You see, now that should be taken up again, but better, more competently. And for that, you cannot wait until the next government. It's not even sure that Modi will be re-elected. Maybe he will be killed, or maybe some natural thing will overtake him, who knows? So the time to act is now, and the time to get the right policies going is now. And maybe they will take some time, and maybe certain policies have to be postponed, like, for instance, enacting a common civil code, will provoke so much opposition. Every imam in every mosque is going to preach against it. So that, admittedly, you know, there you should temporize a bit, prepare the ground, create public opinion. That's a long time job. But others, you know, like Article 30 about bringing Hindu schools, you know, about bringing equality for Hindu education as against Christian or Muslim education, that can start right away. You know, you are not provoking the minorities, you are not doing any injustice to them, you are not taking away anything from them. Moreover, the article of the Constitution doesn't really have to be changed. Maybe you can approach the Supreme Court for an authoritative interpretation. Maybe it will say the rights conferred on the minorities automatically count for the majority. That's how the Constituent Assembly had understood it when it enacted this article. So, you know, I mean, you have to look, you know, certain things have to be postponed. I understand, it's practical politics. Other things have to be done right away. So, you know, that is the practical thing I want to convey to you in this short time. Thank you.
Conradji, thank you so much for your sharing your thoughts. So now we'll open it up for discussion. But one request. So Mamta has these sheets, and I would really urge everybody to be very succinct in their comments, okay? Just write it down so it will become short and brief, and you'll be able to convey your idea. If you could do that, it will be great. So we'll open it up. So anything you wanted to convey with regards to how we want to go forward, what are the important things to act upon? So Dr. Raghavendra Prasad ji from Dallas, Texas. So dissemination and declaration of
Can the gentleman
caste systems
identify?
from Sanatan Dharma. 122nd year of Vivekananda's lecture in the USA. It's about time that Ganges of Sanatan Dharma has to be cleansed, sanskars, and things can be done by taking the first steps by the World Hindu Congress, declaring that there is no Vedic basis for the caste the way it is practiced. Thank you. From Janardhan Devji Goswami, local issue of Assam with special reference to Mandali? Majuli, okay.
Yeah, it's in Assam. River, it is the
Yeah.
largest river
Majuli, the great river,
island
of the world. Good, thanks. You mentioned that, right? You want to say something on that?
सबको हमारा तरफ बधाई है। ये हमारा जो लोकल इशू के आसाम नॉर्थ ईस्ट का, इंडिया जो भारत वर्ष के नॉर्थ ईस्ट का जो प्रॉब्लम अभी तक हो रहा है, ये जो ईसाई का और मुसलमान ये दोनों का अग्रेशन हो रहा है, इसलिए वो आर्म्स तक लेके कन्वर्सन का व्यवस्था भी माजुली में भी शुरू हुआ है। पहले जब गिरजा बनाने के लिए जाते हैं वो आर्म्स लेके भी जाने का व्यवस्था है। हमारा ये सूचना है, जो हमारा चिंतन है, इसको रोकने के लिए कोई व्यवस्था हमारा करना जरूरी हो रहा है। और ये जो संस्थाएं जो हमारा भारतवर्ष व विश्व की सब हिंदू एकत्रित होने का जरूरी हो रहा है। सबको एक होने के बाद इसके सेवा, और हमारा लोग स्थानीय अभी ऐसे ही काम चल रहा है। वो जो शंकर गुरु जी का परंपरा से 550 साल आगे ये जी परंपरा ही है, सत्र परंपरा, ये सबको सब जाति जनगोष्ठी को एकत्रित करके सेवा कर रहा है 500 साल से आगे, अभी तक ये चल रहा है। किंतु ये अब हमारा तरफ ये चिंतन हो रहा है कि सब मठ मंदिर जो है सबको ये पहले चिंतन है सेवा करना जरूरी है, शिक्षा माध्यम से स्वास्थ्य सेवा करना। और एक परंपरा हमारा असम से चल रहा है जो शंकर देव ने शुरू किया है, कला के माध्यम से समाज को संस्कार देना जरूरी है। ये कारण हमारा जो छत्र से अभी विश्व के अलग अलग देशों से ये कला के माध्यम से सेवा कर रहा है। कला के माध्यम से फ्रांस, जर्मन, स्विट्जरलैंड, इंग्लैंड इसको हिंदू की आने का व्यवस्था अभी शुरू हो रहा है। हमारा तो अब चिंतन है कि कला के माध्यम से सबको एकत्रित करना बहुत पहले हो सकते हैं, और हम ज़्यादा नहीं बोलते और सबको हम पढ़ाई देते हैं। एक ही व्यवस्था में है, सबको एकत्रित होना एक जरूरी हो रहा है।
So the next one is from Paramadvaiti ji, BJ Paramadvaiti ji. Substantialize, we want to reculcate more people to love all right, that is dharma, then they become Hindus in essence. If we come all to join one family, then we should welcome all the world to join the efforts of this conference. This would set the ground for one family, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Then he has another point about create benefits for those who declare themselves Hindu to make it appealing, like access online for Hindu education, easy long stay visas for visiting India to learn more, promote pure food to them, like this conference is doing, train special Hindu Brahmin messengers to travel the world promoting our Sanatan Dharma family. Okay, have a publication which recognizes the international new family members and their accomplishments around the world, plus Hindu values and Hindu views on world views. And Gandhiji says, wear khadi, support cottage industry. This conference should support that. And Gandhiji said, cows can only be protected by government coordination. Let us show to the world that it is possible to keep cows and to drink milk without killing the mother cow. Thank you. Another from B.N. Bhanotchi on media. I'm surprised to know that the media here is also unfriendly to the Hindu cause. Today's Times of India has not given any report or photo about the conference. Shocking. That's an observation. Dr. T. Jotangia, I hope I'm not pronouncing their name wrong. Jotangia. Pressurize the present government of Bharat to declare Bharat as a Hindu Rashtra. Dr. Rakesh Ranjan, representative, question about Shuddhi Sanskar. Would you like to elaborate on that, please? Yeah, Mamta.
Sir, we all are discussing a lot about conversion and interfaith marriages and Hindu going out, Hindu losing their faith and culture. But we have this I was expecting from this forum that we will get some guidance on Shuddhi Sanskar and admitting those who are not born in Hindu but they have some interest in Hinduism, how to guide them and how to convert them to Hinduism or admit them to Hinduism so that they get liberated. That is also a responsibility of a Hindu. Of course, Hindu Mahasabha does this kind of work, but this has to be taken on a global arena and on a global platform. Thank you.
Ji. Actually, on that subject, Vishnu Parishad has very well documented procedures for doing that. I know in the US, we've done that as VHP several times. And we have procedures for making that happen.
No, actually, I personally am involved in 2013, that is 2013, I converted 1,394 Muslims to Hindu Dharma. And I got even contacted by Muslims of Assam, who were actually Bangladeshi infiltrators. They contacted and they expressed the desire that we came to India with expectation that we will get a chance to convert to Hinduism.
Very nice. Good. Thank you.
Now, one thing, for anybody, the reconversion or deconversion, that is the homecoming we call, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Masur Ashram, Arya Samaj, Vanvasi Kalyana Ashram, many have been doing this work. Kindly contact any of these organizations and they are doing it. And this is called Paravartan or Ghar Vapsi or homecoming. So this is being done. So that's why this activity is going on by these all over the.
So, actually, I'm impressed. I mean, I'm overwhelmed with all the ideas that are here. So, here is the list from T.S. Bahal. One, institution of international awards in the name of the rishis. Okay. The second point is agenda for temples working out, replacing Red Cross with red swastika. Third, evolving a common set of rituals and prayers for Hindus all over the world, standardizing it. Naming the country as Hindustan. Another point, reciprocity with other nations about religious conversion. Making Hindus more extrovert from introvert. Hinduize Hindus. And the last point, institution of Hindu studies in colleges and universities. On many of these things, like the last one, I mean, there's a lot of work going on in that subject. There is one that I don't know if it's clear to everybody else, it's not clear to me. Reciprocity with other nations about religious conversion. Can you explain that?
And the photographs or deities are trampled below the feet. So there can be some kind of agreement between this type of hardcore Islamic nations that we'll have the same approach towards you when you land here in the Hindu land, because if we allow you to practice your religion freely without fear and this thing. So we should also be allowed, because many Hindus are there in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and other, but they are humiliated at the airport, at the entry point, by the Islamic countries. So their reciprocity should be worked out between such type of nations, that if you allow this thing, we'll allow this thing. For example, in Saudi Arabia, no Indian can become a national, Saudi Arabia national, whereas they have freedom to become a national of India. No, so some type of arrangement can be made. This platform can be. Thank you.
Thanks very much for clarifying that. I think it's very clear now what you're saying. So, from Veer Sukh Lal from Fiji, we Hindus are not proud to call ourselves Hindus. We Hindus are always defensive about Hinduism. Maybe we do not know much about Hinduism. I think these are observations. Hindus are in majority in India, and Hindus interact or should always be acknowledged and protected. Oh, Hindu interests should always be acknowledged and protected.
Hindus. In this country, 98% politicians are Hindus. Around 99% bureaucrats are Hindus. About 99.5% industries are Hindus. But this Hindus' fervor or flavor has not been seen in their behavior. So whether there can be a program to Hinduize Hindus, even the newspaper, media, owned by Hindus. Even the school, most of the schools are owned by the Hindus. My granddaughter comes to the kindergarten and said, Yeshu ne sabka aisa kiya, naasti aisi. I don't know how she is taught. But in Hindu school, nothing is taught like this, owned by the Hindus. So Hinduization of Hindus is more important than converting the fellows from other faith to this faith.
Good point. Thank you. Dr. Rajendra Mishra.
Can I say something?
Sure. Thank you.
In fact, I'm just boiling to answer all the points I hear, To this last one, I would like to say, well, how can you Hinduize the Hindus? There is this attitude among very many activists that we have to do something. Well, in this case, I don't think you can do much, If somebody decides to become a secularist, well, why, I mean, you can't force his thoughts, Maybe you can make him say or do something, but you can't make him think something. And so, that's a wrong attitude. It's like the Augeas and the Augean stable. He had to clean up the stable, and it was way too much work. So what did he do? He made the stream go through the stable, and then it was cleaned in no time. Now, similarly, if you feed people the right information, of course they will become Hindu. But, you know, and that is something you can work on, feeding people the right information. You know, making the vetoes against correct information through secularist prejudice and superficiality and sheer stupidity, you know, make that go away. Stop that. That's something you can do. And then what conclusions people draw practically, that is something for themselves.
Thank you. So another point from Dr. Rajendra Mishraji. Government control of temples must go. Use donation money for Hindu cause. I think Swami Paramatmananji made that point very, very clear this morning. Every temple can support a Goshala. Cultural mapping of all Hindu temples. Common website. Reconstruction of destroyed temples in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. Good points. Someone? Yeah,
Well,
you want to say something?
Well, yes, of course.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I have so many answers here. Now, about this reconstruction of temples. Well, I'm all for the reconstruction of temples, you know, let that be clear. But again, you know, why go against the natural course? You see, if the Muslims in Pakistan become Hindus, then they will automatically rebuild these temples. You know, that will naturally happen. There's nothing you have to do. And the same thing counts in India. You know, let the Muslims in Kashi, you know, in Varanasi become Hindus again, and they themselves will rebuild the Kashi Vishwanath temple. You know? And that is far more important than these stone buildings, you know?
Yeah. Shastri Madhar Priyadas. A Hindu religious organization should be given same benefit as given to minority organizations. Hindu temple money must be used for Hindu cause, same point. Youth, Hindu youth, may be explained about spirit of all rituals. Hindu youth may be given more spiritual knowledge. Every Hindu religious place should teach Shraddha. Oh, Sadvidya. Okay, Sadvidya. Any comments on this?
Yes, of course. As for Hindu temples, you should know that much is already being done. When Narendra Modi was the chief minister of Gujarat, already he started, you know, a training for temple managers. So that you see when the law is being changed and Hindus have control over their own temples, rather than giving them to corrupt government officials, they have the people in place, you know, to do this job. And, you know, many private organizations, I mean, earlier when I came in here this morning from another session, I saw somebody precisely talking about, you know, temple trusts and so on. So things are being done, and of course they need a little legal help. But again, you see, that's not so difficult. That is something this government should really be able to pull off. And again, you know, it's easy to do because it's not against Muslims or Christians. They are not affected by it. Only Hindus are affected. The ones who are smarting under this innovation will be the secularists. But, you know, good reasons, I would say. Yeah?
Thank you. V.S. Kokeji? Sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the issue is not as simplistic as it appears.
No.
Central government cannot do anything because the laws are enacted by the state governments. There are general laws, I think you were not present when I gave the presentation. There are general laws and there are specific laws passed in the assembly. So each and every state has to redo this, one thing. And secondly, it's not easy to get out of the politicians also because it's a soft target. Without taxing the society and creating some anti-feeling, they get millions of rupees from the temples.
Yeah, you know, I know all these things. I mean, and, you know, I have time constraints, so I cannot go too deeply into it.
No.
Now, of course, I know that state governments are more important in this regard than the central government.
No.
You know, the central government can certainly help. As for state governments, you know, in Gujarat something has already been done. some other states ruled by the BJP, even for a very long time, by contrast, are just as corrupt as Congress-ruled states. So there, some correction work is to be done inside the BJP. But at any rate, I don't want to go too deeply into it because, of the constraints of this session. Just one thing, of course there should be equality. Of course, Hindus should be allowed all the same things that with their temples that Muslims are allowed to do with their mosques. That's obvious. You only need, to say equality. That's all. The laws should be equal for everyone, therefore, not specific for Hindus versus for Muslims.
The common civil code is a better approach. Okay. Simply temple, we need to change the constitution in terms of having a common civil code. That's it. That's a better solution. And since number of temples and the number of sampradayas are so many, even if government decides to give away temples tomorrow, I don't think Hindu society is ready to take over. Not prepared.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, V.S. Kokeji from Indore, sensitive potential migrants against evil influences, or sensitize potential migrants against evil influences by holding workshops for them to equip them with knowledge of the basis of Hindu values and information about Hindu organizations of their destination countries. Engage the migrants through their parents and families in India, study the causes of conversion and address the problems of potential converts, rehabilitation of reconverts. Any comments on, for example, rehabilitation of reconverts?
I think some common programs should be organized in the society through temples and organizations. For example, the Raksha Bandhan Utsav can be one of the common program. Yoga Day is coming, International Yoga Day, 21st of June. So that can be organized throughout the entire all the organizations and the temples. Similarly, the Seva Day can be organized together as well. One day, all the organizations, temples should do some service. The Seva word can go in society as a selfless service. These are some of the aspects we can pick up. And one day, or once a year, at least once a year, for certain cause, all the organizations can come together for a protest, for some seminar as well, for the defense as well. And that's why if these type of practices, if we have all the organizations together, it may be against the act, it may be something atrocities as well. Then after 3-4 years, 5 years after, we realize some visibility will happen as a unity of the society.
Thank you, Ramji. I think Sangeeta Sharma from Delhi is saying something along the same lines. She's saying, I know religious Sikh institutions like Gurudwaras clean their own Gurudwaras. Same culture should come from us Hindus to clean the temples. And there was one observation, Ambika Devi Das, Columbia, South America, Vrindavan. I represent a group of young volunteers that through campaigns to clean, we have installed more than 14 garbage disposal areas and collected more than 1,200 kilograms of garbage per month from sacred places. We have done this silently, but we would like to know if we can get collaboration or space in the conference to let everyone know about this. The idea is to work. I think that's really excellent. The idea is to work together. We Western by body. Yeah, maybe Devidasi, why don't you say it? Because I think I'm having a difficulty reading. But from Bharat by heart, we desire to see a beautiful Bharat, clean and green, as pure as it is already.
Well, we are here. We are coming from many parts of the world, from South America, America, or Europe. And we are a small group that live in Vrindavan. It's just 2 hours far from here. We have a small place, and there we are not famous because we are very small already, I said. But we are trying with our own hands, cleaning, picking up the garbage that are in the banks of Jamuna and in the streets of Vrindavan. But we want, and of course, with the guidance of our guru, and that's what we want to do is that people should be more aware that what Western people is doing. Like sometimes Indians, they see, like, they look at us and they say, oh, very nice, they are cleaning. But it's not action there. So we are still picking up anyway because for us it's a beautiful dandavat we do to the Mother Earth, to Bharat Mata. But it will be nice, like, if we can speak more about this, what we are doing, and what more people from Western that they want to see Bharat Mata, not only Vrindavan, but we want to see Bharat Mata, like how beautiful it is, because it's already beautiful and pure. And we want to see the change there, that our holy Bharat, clean, like I already said, and green. We want to see that. And we want to invite everyone to please come to Vrindavan and visit us and helping us in the way you can. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful thought. Then there is this comment from Sinthal Ramaiyaji. Congratulations on a very inspiring, enlightening, informative Congress. Makes all Hindus a very proud Hindu. The divine lamp of Hinduism in Bharat has been rekindled with love, faith, trust, confidence, and togetherness. An international Hindu family. Thank you. So I think you have something to say. Thank you.
When I'm reading about these resolutions, there's one country where India can really make a difference, and that is Bangladesh. The other day, Hasina, Prime Minister's sister, was in London because her daughter was standing as a candidate for European Parliament. And I talked to her. They said Hindu temples are destroyed, attacked by the fundamentalists, not by Hasina's party, they are pro-India, but they are the other lady whose party is actually very anti-India, and temples are destroyed. So Indian financial assistance to that country should be subject to rebuilding any damaged temples, any destroyed temples, and looking after the Hindus. Otherwise, no financial aid should be given by India to Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you see, this is a very hopeful thing, and I mean, I'm all for it. But again, you know, it's not so practical. I mean, of course, we all desire this, but how can you achieve it? Now, in a sense, it is very easy to achieve it. You see, Bangladesh is a very dependent country. You know, a very large part of its budget consists in foreign help. Now, if it was made better known among its American and so on donors, you know, what the problem is of the minorities in Bangladesh, then they would enter clauses in their health treaties of development aid and so on, that the minorities have to be treated right, that this, you know, destroying temples and so on has to stop. And then the Bangladesh government would be forced to do that and see to it. So not in every country can this be done, but in the case of Bangladesh, it is quite easy. And the Indian government, right now, the Modi government, should be able to exercise pressure in this regard. There are two more earlier points that I'd like to reply to. Somebody wanted India to be declared a Hindu Rashtra and to change the name to Hindustan. Now, Hindustan is the Persian word for India, nothing else. At a time when Hindu simply meant an Indian, that it had no specific religious connotation. And, you know, Hindu means, when the Muslims brought the word into India, it meant simply any Indian pagan. So automatically, whatever the secularists may say, you see, any Buddhist, tribal, Sikh, and so on, is automatically a Hindu. You see, that is the original meaning of the word Hindu, okay? Now, there is no use in giving India a foreign name. You know, Hindustan is just as foreign as India is. You know, although both refer to the word Sindhu, you know, Indus. So, you know, Bharat or whatever, and as long as it lasts, in English, India is good enough. Hindustan is no improvement. Secondly, and Hindu Rashtra, is no use. Demanding it be declared Hindu Rashtra is no use at all. You only make enemies. Everybody will be up in arms who is not a Hindu. This is discrimination, whatever, and nothing is gained. So you create a lot of enemies, a lot of disadvantage to the Hindu cause, and nothing is gained. So it's not worth it. It's no use. Maybe you can make a Hindu Rashtra, that's different. But to declare a Hindu Rashtra is typically the Hindu superstition of thinking that by changing words, you can change realities. So that's not the case. And finally, somebody said something about Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka. Now, this is something I really want to comment on. A friend of mine, Sarvesh Tiwari, has written a paper tracing the origin of this line. Hindu politicians especially, are treating it like some kind of kalima for Hinduism. Like the Muslims have this faith declaration, La ilaha illallah, there is no God except Allah. And so Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is something similar for Hinduism. This is the ultimate essence of Hinduism. Now, first of all, it's a very ordinary statement. If Christians say, we are all creatures of God, it automatically follows, well, we are all children of God, therefore we are all brothers. Therefore we are all one family. So there's nothing typically Hindu about this. Moreover, what is its role exactly in Hindu literature? The phrase does not come from the Rig Veda, it does not come from the Bhagavad Gita. Uninformed Hindus, like nowadays, you get superficial Hindus who know very little about Hinduism, but they want to produce something and they say something rather uninformed. You see, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam comes from the Hitopadesha, a collection of fables. And I will, in a few sentences, relate to you the fable. This is about three animals, a deer, a jackal, and a crow, a bird. And so the jackal is trying to catch the deer, but by running after it, well, the deer is faster. So he tries something else, which is to befriend the deer. And the crow has seen this, and he goes there and he warns the deer, do you know who this fellow is? You are befriending him, but what are his intentions? You have to find out. And then the jackal defends himself, intervening and saying to the crow, but this is very narrow-minded to sow distrust like that. A really open-minded person would say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Now, at first, the crow does not know what to say to this, but he keeps an eye on the whole thing. Then later, when the jackal thinks its time has come, he attacks the deer. But fortunately, the crow, who does not believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, intervenes and picks out the eyes of the jackal and saves the deer. So the moral of the story is, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is something said by people with evil intentions. It is believed by stupid people, in this case the deer, and it is disbelieved by intelligent people, in this case the crow. So, of course it is true that if the crow could use this, the jackal could use the phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it clearly had a certain authority even in those days. Otherwise he wouldn't have invoked this to save his own skin. So people did have some, they saw some truth in this. Of course, in a way, we are all one family. But at the same time, precisely because it is true, many evil people will hide behind it and try to use it to their advantage. So, you have to apply viveka, the power of discrimination. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. And so these silly, believe that, this is everything, we can always use this. This is the essence of Hinduism. This is not true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Els, for the nice story. I think, like he mentioned, that it's right that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that shloka, Subhashita we call it as, and Subhashita means the quotation, connotations that expresses the feeling and the value system as well. Hitopadesh is mentioned in a very wrong reason, a wrong person. But Hitopadesh is also one of the clarification. They have used many subhashis come from Mahabharata, Ramayana and other in the compilation of many independent as well, random the subhashits as well. And therefore, we feel that, rightly that, this concept we accept, and that concept is mentioned in their shloka, in the subhashita, which is the Hitopadesh. But that concept is basically the very important concept. And if you go, there are so many layers of the word Kutumba and Parivar as well. And all those layers comes into mind that one soul, and therefore the integral humanism is one of the concepts which is connected to that one. We can go in a deeper understanding as well. Having that, the social soul, and understand social soul, social mind and social intellect, and having these three things, the body is called as the one family. In that direction, if you understand, and then that in that consciousness level, probably I think the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can be understood. But he's very right that this shows the whole historical and the literary, the reference of that, the shloka, Ayam Nija Paroveti, is from that.
Thank you.
We can go later, basically. Yeah.
Thanks. I think we are over time. I just wanted to share a couple of charts with you. Try to summarize some of the things that we discussed.
One or two things. Earlier, there is one evolving common rituals and prayers for Hindus all over the world. Standardize it. I think this is against the very basic and fundamental principles of Hindutva and Hinduism and the Bharatiya philosophical tenets. You can't stand it. You are Semitizing, if I can use the term, the Hindus. Hindus believe in diversity, they believe in the individual wisdom, their knowledge, they can express it in any way. If you want to have all the rituals, all people should have the common. Which one? Who is going to win? Can we decide? Who will be deciding it? Who is the authority? The Jain should not do this, or the Saiva should not do this, or they should do only this, or Swaminarayan Panth should only do this, or the Ramakrishna Mission should not perform this. Can we do this? Because such things when crop up, I will have to say that once and for all we should decide that Hindus cannot have the common standardized formations of rituals and prayers. From time to time, these things get evolved, and all of them are of Hindus. We should respect them. Otherwise, we will get into other troubles. Instead of facing external challenges, we will be fighting among ourselves.
We have been trying for last 2-3 Acharya Sabhas to get one thing common for the Hindus. What he says is true, because originally we had Shodasha Samskaras. That was common for Hindus. Now only 3 or 2 samskaras left, which is one marriage and sometimes Antyeshti, and some sampradayas don't accept Antyeshti also. Puja Swamiji and we promoted, let us accept Gayatri as minimum common Hindu, but that also doesn't become acceptable to many sampradayas. So it's almost as of last Acharya Sabha we dropped the agenda also.
We should get, so that's why our ancestors have found out wonderful ways. That is, all people are going. Even a Shaiva Vaishnava will go to Gurudwara, Mata tekne ke liye to jata hi hai. And a Sardarji also does go to with his friend a Shaiva to a temple. I have seen hundreds of them going. So already such things are happening, and we should respect that. And all Hindus, irrespective of their various sampradayas, panthas, they are having astha and shraddha in, for example, holy Ganga river. So the Kumbh Mela we have been mentioning time and again since yesterday in these sessions. So there some such great things are already there. So they are the common things. I think the behavioral pattern of the commonness of the Hindus is more important than the ritual part.
Yep. So thanks. Let me just quickly go through this to see that it actually we've been able to capture it. If there are some things missing, let us know. So there were like 4 different dimensions to this whole theme of HOTA, right? Coming together, positioning, strengthening, defending, and promoting. And I think many of the discussion that we have this morning and yesterday, they all centered around these 4 important dimensions. Some of the issues that I was able to capture, and I'm sure others have captured it too, so we'll get it all together. One was secularization of Christianity is more dangerous than conversion. I think Professor, he raised that. VIP temples and VIP prasad is a point that was raised by one of the youth, and we'll see what could be done about that. Shrinking demographics, the presentation that Dr. J.K. Bajaj made, an important one. Lack of identity, not given sanskars, being religious means to be backward, and this whole business of sarva dharma, samabhava. So here are some of the action items that we captured, and many of the things that you wrote down today. We'll try to compile it all and then see if we can group them properly. So one was liberate Hindu temples from government clutches, and the temple's funds should be used for a Hindu cause. Engage the youth, many avenues, education, training, awareness of conversion, seva, this thought that came this morning from Swami Mitranandaji, Hindu spiritual service fairs, daily practice. And this was an important point that was raised, that Bharat is shrinking because we have stopped being practicing Hindus, especially the generations, the future coming generations. Every temple should support a Vedic Pathshala, open a desk for Bangladesh, Hindus, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bhutan, see what can be done in there. Transcribe, this was a suggestion made by one of the people from, I think, South America. He said that we should transcribe all the talks, analyze them, and then act on the issues, maybe put it up in form of a blog. So I'll tell Gunaji and all these people, see what we can do about that. I'm sure they can do it. Award, and allow people to comment on it. Award to be established in the name of ancient Indian scientists and rishis. It was an idea suggested. Communicate and to build relationships. I think that's what one of the outcomes of this conference has to be, that we have better communication, and it's all about building relationship. There are people from 50 different countries who came to this Congress, and it will be wonderful if all of us have exchanged notes. There was a directory that was published with the email addresses of every single delegate, and it would be great if you can just send a note saying, hello, how are you, namaste, wish them. Build relationships. And especially because, I mean, our friend from South America, right? I mean, we can establish relationships and rebuild these long lost connections. Developing the infrastructure, websites and directory. That's something that the organizers need to work on. And with that, I'll stop. I will transcribe all the comments and the suggestions that were sent today, and we'll have it compiled. And I think tomorrow we'll have a slightly different summary of this session. So thank you once again for all your comments and for patiently sitting through all these wonderful talks. And I hope you felt that they were worthwhile and helpful. Thank you so much. Namaste.